Okay, 7th grade. So our learning target for today is I can multiply and divide fractions and mixed numbers. So we're going to take care of both today. Fractions and mixed numbers will be on page 15. So let's talk about what our steps are for multiplying fractions. Lots of kids like to multiply fractions because you don't have to worry about that common denominator today in our work. What we're gonna do is in step 1, we're gonna turn all fractions into improper fractions like we practiced yesterday. So go ahead and write that down. Turn all fractions into improper fractions. Okay. So after we do that, we are going to cross cancel if you can. Now that's just an option in step 2. You don't have to do that. It's like a shortcut. Some kids love it. Some kids are not interested in doing that. They just want like to take the long way and get the correct answer. It doesn't make any difference to me if you do step 2. If you choose to do step 2, then you would move on to step 3. Otherwise, you'll go from step 1 to step 3. We will then multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. And then finally, we will simplify. So make sure you get those notes in for the 4 steps. A lot of triangle problems are going to come into play here. So we'll be thinking about those triangle problems that we did earlier back in the integer unit. All right, group, here we go. So we're going to turn all fractions into improper fractions. That's what is listed in step number 1. Well, we already have fractions, so we're ready to go. Cross cancel if we can. I'm actually not going to cross cancel on this first question. I'm just going to solve it the long way, so I'm going to skip step 2. I will kick it in on the next problem just so you can see an option of that, but I'm going to skip it for now. And then I'm going to multiply numerators, multiply denominators. So we're going to go ahead and multiply the numerators. -6 times 3. That's a triangle problem. We have negative on the 6, positive on the 3, so our answer is -18 in the numerator, just multiplying -6 times 3. In the denominator, we have 7 times 4. 7 times 4 in the denominator is 28. So we have -18 over 28. Our job is to put it in simplify or lowest terms. So if I think about that, -18 and 28 are both even, I can cut them in half. So I'm going to divide that in half, which is -9. I'm going to divide that half, which is 14. So my answer then would be -9 over 14. That's the first example there. The next example, we have to make sure that we have improper fractions, which we do have fractions, so we're ready to go. I'm going to cross cancel on this one. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to show you the option. Actually, maybe I'll solve this one 2 different ways. I think I will. So I'm going to go ahead and clone this, and I'll solve it 2 different ways. So on the left-hand side, we're going to go ahead and say the 3 and the 9 both have factors of 3 in them. So I can divide a 3 out of 9, and I'm left with a 3. And I can divide a 3 out of 3, and I'm left with a 1. So when I multiply, then the numerators, I have 3 times 2, which is a 6. And in the denominator, I have 5 times 1, which is a 5. So I get to end up with a 3 times 2 on the top and a 5 times 1 on the bottom. And then I will put this back in lowest terms. So we'd say how many times does 5 go into 6? Well, you'd say, well, 1 time. What's the remainder on that? 1/5. So 1 and 1/5 would be the answer there. And or you could take the long way, really, and not cross cancel, skip that step 2 in this other problem here. So I'm just going to multiply the numerator, which is 18. I'm going to multiply the denominator, which is 15, and I should end up with the same answer. So I'm asking here, how many 15s go into 18? Well, you should say, well, 15 goes into 18 1 time, which is 15. The remainder on that is 3. So it goes in there 1 whole time, remainder 3/15. Putting that in lowest terms then, 3/15. Well, 3/15, what goes into 3? 3 goes into 3, but does 3 go into 15? Yeah. 3 goes into 3 1 time. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So this would reduce to 1 and 1/5. So I divided the top number 3 by 3, copy, paste, divide the bottom number 15 by 3, and I get lowest terms of 1 and 1/5. So you kind of see over here on the left, I'll highlight them in 2 different colors. This is the shortcut way. You get 1 and 1/5. That's if you choose to do step 2. This is kind of the long way, and you get 1 and 1/5. I don't care which way you solve. You can choose to do step 2 and take a shortcut or not. That's totally your option. All right, guys. So we have 2 left here in multiplication. So this one over here, first of all, we have a mixed number. So we're going to go ahead and change this to a improper fraction. So we're going to multiply these two, the denominator and the whole number, and get 10. And then we're going to add the numerator. So that's 13/5. If we haven't used it, we drag it down. Go ahead and catch up there. 13/5 multiplied by 10. Now, I'm not going to take any shortcuts for the rest of the lesson, so I'm going to skip step 2 for the rest of the lesson. If you're a kid that feels good about that, go ahead and do it, but I'm going to do the long way for the sake of making it easier for students. I'm going to write a fraction by putting a 1 underneath this, and then we're going to go ahead and multiply the numerators, which is 130. Multiply the denominators, which is 5. And then I'm going to ask how many 5s go into 130. So we're saying how many 5s go into 130. Well, 5 goes into 13 2 times, which is 10. And 5 goes into 36 times. So I believe our answer is 26. 26 would be our final answer. Nice, beautiful whole number there. 26 is our answer. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and stop. Okay, great. Now, this next problem, we're going to go ahead and multiply these. 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 1 is 13 over 4. Now remember, we ignore the negative out front. When we're changing from a mixed number to an improper fraction, we ignore that negative. We do the work of 3 times 4, which is 12. Add the numerator is 13. And now I reattach the negative. If I haven't used it, I drag that multiplication sign down. My next step then is to multiply these two numbers. 3 times 5 is 15. Add the top number, which is 16. So 3 times 5 is 15. Add the top number, 16. The 3 goes on the bottom. Now we're going to clean this up. We're going to go ahead and multiply those numerators. We have a triangle problem there, so it's negative. We have negative 13 times 16. Negative 13 times 16. So everybody should be typing that in. I'm going to be typing it in right now as well. All right, so we have 13 times 16, which is negative 208. I used my calculator on that. You feel free to do that. In the denominator, we're going to multiply that 4 times 3, which is 12. Okay, so now we know the answer is going to be negative because we have a triangle problem here. And we want to know how many times does 12 go into 208? Well, it goes in there 17 times. 17 times. And that gives us 204. So the remainder on that is 4 twelfths. So negative 17 and 4 twelfths. Okay, so now we have to just decide, are we in lowest terms? Is there anything I can do with 4 and 12? Well, if I think about 4 and 12 and the factors or what divides into 4 and 12, I know that I can divide by 4 to the top and 4 to the bottom, giving me negative 17. If I divide by 4 on the top, I get a 1. If I divide by 4 on the bottom, I get a 3. So negative 17 and 1/3. Negative 17 and 1/3 is our answer there. And we are now done with multiplication. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause that video. If you need to watch it again, watch it again. So that's called multiplication. We don't need a common denominator, none of that. So now we're going to work through the division of fractions. How do we divide fractions? So those are very similar to multiplication, but we have to do a step at the beginning first. Of course, we're going to start with making sure that we have improper fractions. What's going to be a little bit different in this is that we are not going to actually do any division at all. We're going to convert just like we do with subtraction to addition. We're going to get rid of the division and change it to multiplication using an operation called stop, op, flop. Sounds the same, but it's stop, op, flop. We'll talk through that in a minute. That flop means to flip or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. And then after we do that, we will cross cancel if you wish. Now this is a choice. This cross cancels that shortcut. That's a choice. Otherwise you multiply, simplify. Stop, op, flop. So we'll walk through what that means. Go ahead and copy those notes. Okay, group, so stop, op, flop. That just means basically when we have a division problem here, so you see this division sign in the middle, you should be thinking, oh no, I have to do something because we don't subtract and we don't divide. So we're going to go ahead and stop sign. Leave that alone. There's your hand. Leave that alone. We're going to change the operation to the opposite. That's what that op means. Opposite operation. It's always going to turn into multiplication. Always. And then we're going to flop or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I take that 4/5 and I flip it and make it 5/4. All right, group. So as I clean this up then, you can take a shortcut if you like. I'm not going to take any shortcuts. I'm going to take the long road. So I'm going to multiply tops is negative 40. And I'm going to multiply bottoms, which is 20. So I have negative 40 on the top, triangle problem. I have 20 on the bottom, and that turns into a nice integer of -2. The answer is -2. So that works out kind of nice. Okay, if you have any questions on that, you should go ahead and pause that video and kind of look through it. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Next problem has a division sign in there. Remember, we don't subtract or divide in Ms. Volkman's class, so we're going to go ahead and change it to stop, op, flop. So we have the stop sign here. 6/7. Leave it totally alone. Just drag it down. Division is going to change to multiplication. We're going to flip or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Multiply tops, multiply bottoms. So we have 24 over 21. So we want to know how many 21s go into 24. If I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause that video. How many 21s go into 24? Well, you should be saying, well, 1 for sure. Remainder on that is 3 over 21. 3 over 21 reduces because you can divide by top by 3 and bottom by 3 gives us 1 and 1/7. Answer should be 1 and 1/7. All right, group, next example here. We're going to go ahead and ignore the negative, and we're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply 1 times 7. We have 1 times 7 is 7, and we're going to add the top number, which gives us 12. 12 over 7. Notice I ignored the negative. I took the bottom number 7, and I multiplied by the whole number 1. I got 7. I add the top number, and I get 12. At this point, I'm going to reattach the negative. And now I'm just going to rewrite everything just so I don't mess anything up. I haven't done any flipping yet. I'm just going to rewrite and now take a look at what's going on here. This 6 really is like 6 over 1. Okay. Division sign is still in there. We can't have the division sign with fractions. So we're going to have to get rid of that division sign. So we're going to do what's called stop, op, flop. So we're going to stop on the first number. Don't touch the first number. Stop. We're going to change the operation to the opposite. So we're going to change it to multiplication. And then we're going to flip the second fraction, which becomes 1 over 6. So then we end up with a multiplication problem on the top. We have -12 over, on the bottom, 42. -12 over 42. -12 over 42. So what I'd have to do then is I would have to divide that by 2. And I get -6 over 21. Now, is there any way to reduce again? Sure. Yeah, I could divide by 3, which is -2 over 7. Now, some of you might have saw right from the beginning that we could divide by 6 the first time. It doesn't matter. You can take baby steps. 7 is prime and 2 is prime. So our answer is -2 over 7. That's our division problem there. All right, group, we have one more. So we have these two mixed numbers. They have some negatives in there. We're going to have to do a bunch of stuff with this division problem. You notice that there is a division sign. Now, we do not accept division in the with fractions. We have to change them. So we're going to go ahead and first convert to fractions. So we have 21 when we multiply the denominator and the whole number. We're going to add the numerator, which gives us 22 over 7. The sign is division. I'm going to keep it for a minute. I'm not going to flip anything yet because I don't want to do too much at once. Over on the other side, now you have this negative in there. You're going to have to wait on the negative. Hold off on that negative. We're going to convert. 11 times 1 is 11. Add the numerator. Notice it's not a -11. It's just 11. Plus 3 is 14 over 11. And at this time, I'm going to reattach the negative on that 14. That yellow highlight on my screen. All right. I say no to the division. I say stop, up. Change the operation. Do not do anything to the first fraction. 22 over 7. Change the operation to multiplication. And then we're going to flip the second fraction, which becomes 11 over -14. All right, group, here we go. Let's finish this up. So at this point, you could try to take a shortcut if you wanted, but I'm going to take the long road. We have 22 times 11, which gives me 242 on the top. In the bottom, I have a triangle problem. I have 7 times -14. Go ahead and use your calculator if you want on that. And when you do that, 7 times -14, it's negative, of course, and it's -98. Now, we know our answer is going to be negative because it's a triangle problem. We want to know how many 98s go into 242. So how many 98s into 242? And it goes in there. 98 goes into 242. It's looking like 2 times. 98 goes in there 2 times. I'm going to go ahead and check that out on my calculator, make sure that everything looks good. 98 goes in there 2 times. Yes, that makes 196. So when I subtract here, my remainder on that is 46. Okay, so that's a negative 2 whole times in 46 over 98. Okay, now I have to make a decision on, am I in lowest terms? So checking out my lowest terms here, well, they're both even, so I know I can reduce for sure. So I'm going to cut them both in half, which becomes negative 2 and 23 over 49. We are done. Negative 2 and 23 over 49. So everything we did today is multiplication and division of fractions. So some summary questions would be, or some summary statements would be this. Make sure you make all fractions improper before you get going on this. Make sure you actually have fractions, not mixed numbers or whole numbers. Then multiply straight across. Now, if you want to take a shortcut, you can, but if that's tricky for you, just multiply straight across on the top, straight across on the bottom, and then to divide, all you have to do is stop, up, flop. Okay, 7th grade. So after you're done filling out that summary, your homework tonight is to do page 16. I expect to see stop. You don't touch the first fraction at all. Up, change the division to multiplication, and then flop, flipping that second fraction. I'm expecting to see that in your work tonight. Your homework is to do just page 16. Have a fabulous night.